this. Use the word tolls versus charges in terms of who could cross or how crossings of the Strait of Hormuz would happen. Just explain why that might be interesting.
Well, I presume in the talks with the Pakistanis, the Iranians, or with the Qataris, are suggesting that, okay, the Americans don't want us to impose a toll system, but we can, call it a charge of some sort instead of a toll it's using words to solve problems that are bigger than words. But at the same time, don't forget, this whole business is not just the Americans who are against Iran's control over this waterway. All those countries, the Arab countries in the southern coast of the Persian Gulf, they have a stake in having free shipping through the Strait of Hormuz, one. And secondly, Iran keeps saying that we can allow various ships to go through, but no military ships. Don't forget that the U.S. has a military base in Bahrain, and the U.S. ships have been going back and forth to Bahrain for many years. So that means that basically that is unacceptable to the Americans also. So this Strait of Hormuz is basically, as I said, it's the biggest problem standing in the way of some kind of a resolution.
Kawsra Naji and Bern de Bousman, thank you both very much indeed for talking us through that today. To Lebanon now, where Israel has carried out a new wave of airstrikes in the south of the country. The army hit Tyre after issuing an evacuation order for people in the city and its surrounding areas. The IDF says that it's targeting Hezbollah command centres there. Earlier, residents of the city of Nabatea and several other towns were also told to leave. Israel's been intensifying its bombing in response to what it says are increased drone attacks by the Iranian-backed Hezbollah group. In a statement, Hezbollah has said that its fighters have clashed with Israeli troops north of the Litani River. Let's go to Jerusalem and our correspondent Amir Nada. Amir, just bring us up to date on the strikes.
Well, we've just had a significant escalation, an announcement from the spokesperson of the Israeli military ordering all Lebanese people in the south of Lebanon to evacuate, to leave an area stretching from the north of the Israeli border, the south of Lebanon, a 40-kilometer stretch. That includes areas, cities such as Tyre, cities such as Nabatea, many towns and villages there, all the way up to that Zahrani River, and already this evening we've had reports of heavy airstrikes in the city of Tyre. This is a city that has been targeted a number of times in recent weeks, but now there is this evacuation order for the entire city. So far, it's unclear how many casualties have been recorded there in the strikes in the past few hours. In Nabatea, as you mentioned, we've had an announcement from Hezbollah saying that they engaged Israeli troops en route. They were trying to push towards Nabatea, and Hezbollah says that they have engaged them. So we are really getting this sense of the expanded ground operation by Israeli troops pushing up north. So far, we still have not seen any attacks directly on the capital city, Beirut. There's been a lot of fear. People who had fled at the start of this renewed campaign by Israel, this escalated campaign, many people have returned. And there is some suggestion in local media, in Israeli media, that while President Trump might have greenlit this new operation by the Israeli military, that he hasn't okayed attacks on the capital, Beirut, for concern, fear of scuppering the deal with Iran. And finally, of course, Lebanon and Israel did sign a ceasefire extension just 2 weeks ago, an extra 45 days. Clearly, it didn't do anything to stop this escalation in violence, but there is this US-led mediation process. They were due to meet on Friday for further negotiations between the two sides. And according to Saudi media, those talks are still planned to go ahead despite this increase in the fighting and Israel's expanded campaign in Lebanon.
Amir Nada, thank you very much.
Done. Happy productivity.
Well, the economic impact of the war continues to be felt right around the world. Here in the UK, millions of people are going to see energy prices rise by 13% in July as the impact of the conflict hits bills for the first time. The regulator says a typical household will pay £221 more a year, with an annual bill of £1,862. The energy cap affects millions of homes on variable tariffs in England, Scotland and Wales. In India, on Monday, petrol and diesel prices were raised for the fourth time in 10 days. India is the world's third largest oil buyer and normally sources half of its crude oil through the Strait of Hormuz, which is, of course, under the blockade. A fifth of the world's oil and gas usually flows through that waterway. In France, one of the major oil companies, Total Energies, says today it would extend its policy of capping fuel prices at its service stations to €1.99 per litre for petrol and €2.25 for diesel. Let's go live to our cost of living correspondent, Kevin Peachy. Kevin, just first of all, explain a bit more for us the impact of the war on energy bills. We're in the UK, and here we're not in the winter yet, but in the UK already concerns that prices could go higher.
Yeah, certainly. It's actually a heat wave here in the UK, and so that summer weather will shield some people from the effects of this price rise, which is primarily driven by the sharp rise in the cost of gas. But, as you say, Ofgem, which is the energy regulator in the UK, and other analysts have suggested that this price rise, it's 13% starting in July, is likely to persist into the winter, perhaps beyond. And, of course, that's all down to international events. And it's the reason why many people are cutting back on their use of energy as much as they can.
And, of course, global impacts on this. India petrol prices rising. Just a reminder of how vital this waterway is to the supply chain.
Yeah, absolutely vital. As you say, a fifth of oil and gas moves through the Strait of Hormuz. Obviously, it's the countries in Asia which tend to be the most exposed to this, but there is a ripple effect across the globe, or more than a ripple, as we've seen. So petrol prices, of course, we've got fertilizer prices going up, which is affecting the price of food across the globe, and then generally just inflation risks too. We heard from the European Central Bank today saying that the financial resilience of the global financial system is being tested as a result of the impacts of the blockade of the Strait. And clearly events can change quickly. We've heard of reports even today that of this potential perhaps peace deal, and that has shifted the oil price. But it's that uncertainty which means that financial planning for governments, for countries, for individuals is much tested.
Kevin Peachy, thank you. Well, finally today, let's go inside Iran. In a moment, we'll have reaction to the partial restoration of the internet. But first, hundreds of people prayed outside the University of Tehran today. State TV showed the worshippers marking Eid al-Adha, which means Festival of Sacrifice, and is one of the most important festivals in the Muslim calendar. It comes, of course, during this fragile ceasefire, which was reached early last month. So to the joy that some Iranians have expressed at being back online after the internet was partially restored. The internet monitoring group, NetBlocks, posted this graph showing the difference between today and the shutdown. It says the service remains heavily filtered, with new restrictions on messaging and app stores compared with pre-January.
We're seeing that connectivity remains quite heavily restricted. There's the FilterNet in place, that is Iran's pre-existing censorship mechanism. There are also additional filtering mechanisms in place that weren't there before. For example, WhatsApp was quite popular for people to communicate, and now that is restricted. You have to use a VPN just to use that.
Well, a number of people have contacted BBC Persian to say their home internet is connected, but their mobile internet is still not working. People in Tehran welcome the lifting of the restrictions, which lasted for almost 3 months. We caught up with computer science students Rustin and Panter to see what they thought.
This is 100% a positive thing. The online market is thirsty to go back to its previous state, but its social prosecution that keeps happening significantly harms the online businesses. The businesses highly depend on the internet, and every time, these restrictions make life more difficult for them.
I'm very happy that the internet is going to be restored because businesses can get back to normal. I had an online shop for a while and sold products. Definitely it will benefit us. But the only problem is the censorship. If they come up with a good solution and correct solution to this, many problems would be solved.
Well, before we go, we just wanted to update you on the Iranian World Cup team. The national team has been taking part in a training session in Turkey. Before the tournament starts, the squad will fly to Mexico. FIFA has confirmed that Iran's training base will be in the Mexican city of Tijuana and not in Tucson in Arizona, despite Iran having to play all three of their group matches in the United States. Mexico's president said her government had been approached by FIFA after the US made it clear it did not want Iran's squad to stay in their country during the tournament. Whether you're joining us on YouTube, TikTok, Sounds, Radio or TV, thanks for your time. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the Iran War Today.
咱医院研究沐浴乳成分已经10